Oh man, this is big, and almost no one in the West is talking about it. What China, Russia, and the United States have done over the last few days will change everything in the biggest way possible, and it's already leading to an economic world war, the likes of which we've never seen before. We'll get into the stunning details in a minute, but first, you'd be forgiven if you were distracted by headlines over the past few months saying that Xi Jinping of China will be thrown out of office soon, or that Vladimir Putin is hiding in a bunker somewhere. All of this is a distraction, and none of it's true. In fact, these two world leaders have been meeting regularly, building up massive stores of gold, silver, and securing land that includes as many precious minerals as possible. They've been meeting recently, in fact, to align their currencies together, simpatico, around precious metals. Now, China doesn't have a lot of precious minerals and petroleum, so they need this partnership. And Russia doesn't have the semiconductors and the electronics, so they need those from China. It's a great symbiotic relationship that has grown by over 40% since the start of this war. Yeah, since the beginning of this year. Now, while at the same time the United States announced they are now $31 trillion in debt, $7 trillion of that is to China. So who gets the upper hand now? But the United States is getting desperate, which I will show you more about in a second. And what the Biden administration just did might make your jaw hit the floor. I promise you, no one is reporting on this. It's an astonishing story. Meanwhile, China just congratulated Russia on the annexation of the Donbas region, which is one of the most mineral-rich areas in the world. That is now under Russia's control. And just a few hours ago in China, yes, earlier this morning, China's President Xi Jinping opened the CCP conference with a speech that most of you who watch Western mainstream media will never see. But it was a historic speech, in my opinion. Xi Jinping outlined how China's control of Hong Kong is now complete, and that Taiwan is next. Let me repeat that. Xi Jinping stood up and declared the control of Hong Kong is now complete, and Taiwan is next. Think he's bluffing? I don't. If you've been watching my show for any length of time, you know that I've been saying that the coming war with China is the biggest story in the world, and it's the main story. And China's full control of Taiwan will be the catalyst. Russia's annexation of the mineral-rich Donbas region was just the start of this show, a template for how this is going to go. NATO can fool around all they want in Ukraine because they don't really care about Ukraine at all. They will use Ukraine, and Russia will never give up the Donbas. And America and Western powers will be weakened for spending billions of dollars in a fruitless provocation of Russia. Next to America's failures in Vietnam and Afghanistan, I believe it will go down as one of the biggest military mistakes in Western history. Here's a stupid idea. Let's get the NATO countries together. Let's install a puppet government in Ukraine in 2014, which is what they did. And then let's provoke Russia. Sounds like a great plan. Morons. How'd that work out for you? We will be able to look at a calendar and pinpoint the moment when Western leaders created an energy crisis and an economic catastrophe that crippled Europe and by proxy America, all in an effort to somehow preserve the US dollar's role as the reserve currency of the world. It didn't work. Oh, and now Russia controls eastern Ukraine, which is filled with precious minerals. It was a failure. The main movie is about to start, though, so get your popcorn, because it's going to take place in the South China Sea around Taiwan. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. China will take control of Taiwan. This is inevitable. The People's Republic of China will retake the islands controlled by Taiwan, and there's simply nothing the United States and NATO will be able to do about it. Listen to Colonel Douglas McGregor.
Beijing will not allow Taiwan to become a garrison state for American armed forces or Japanese armed forces or any foreign power. And if they think that we are going to ally ourselves with Taiwan, if they think we are going to intervene to defend that island in the event of a dispute, then we will be at war with China for the reasons that I just outlined. And we are not prepared for that. We are grossly overstretched. We don't have the logistical infrastructure. And frankly, there's an old adage that everyone should remember. A ship's a fool to fight a fort. You have to fight China from the sea. We can't win that. China can absorb everything we throw at it. And the Chinese are happy to sit there, let us travel thousands of miles to reach them, and then sink us.
He's right. But the real war has already started. I promised you a stunning story that might make your jaw hit the floor, as it did for me. This week, we learned what the Biden administration just did to China because it's scared of what's coming. Now, Michael Burry, you might know him as the guy who accurately predicted the housing collapse in 2008. Christian Bale played him in the big movie, The Big Short. Now, he tweeted this week and said this: "A critically important story not getting enough attention," and he pointed to Jordan Schneider's coverage of what the United States just did to China. So, what is this critically important story? Well, here it is. Quote, "Lots of people don't know what happened yesterday. To put it simply, Biden has forced all Americans working in China to pick between quitting their jobs and losing American citizenship." Yeah, losing American citizenship because they're working in China? Yeah, it gets worse. Every American executive and engineer working in China's semiconductor manufacturing industry resigned yesterday, paralyzing Chinese manufacturing overnight. Yeah, this just happened. One round of sanctions from Biden did more damage than all 4 years of performative sanctioning under Trump. With the new Biden sanctions, all American suppliers of IP blocks, components, and services departed overnight, thus cutting off all service to China. Long story short, every advanced node semiconductor company is currently facing comprehensive supply cutoffs, resignations from all American staff, and immediate operations paralysis. This is what annihilation looks like. China's semiconductor manufacturing industry was reduced to zero overnight. Complete collapse, no chance of survival, he writes. So what then? How does China respond? Will they just sit back? Of course not. So what island produces the largest amount of chips in the world? What island did Nancy Pelosi fly to recently to check on her investments with chip manufacturers? What island immediately restores China's chip dominance by being under China's full control? This is what war with China looks like. That's why Russia and China have been stockpiling gold and silver and precious minerals, specifically for these component parts, but also to shore up their currencies. Zero Hedge reports that Putin has been building up his defenses against economic sanctions for years. It's almost looking like he knew this was coming.
И так называемые наднациональные элиты не стремились сохранить существующий порядок вещей, наступает все-таки новая эпоха, новый этап в мировой истории. И только подлинно суверенные государства могут обеспечить высокую динамику роста.
So as the Western media started talking crap about Russia, Putin started stockpiling gold and getting rid of the US dollar reserves. The gold experts I'm speaking to don't see this happening overnight. No, they see like a 6 to 7 year time frame for the complete US dollar collapse and the rise of currencies backed by gold.